friends, today I am doing a review of this book, The Shadow Weaver by Samruddhi Gulati. First, let us get into the story. So, this is the story of our protagonist, Maya. And initially, she feels that something is wrong in the world around her. The same lanes that she has lived in all her life, they seem like something different. There is something going on. Probably the world is closing in on her. The lanes and the surroundings are changing. Later on, what she realizes is that she has this ability to navigate multiple worlds. Now, what are these worlds? Are they some imaginary worlds? It's an interesting concept of what exactly is the world that she's trying to navigate. So these are all the worlds which could have been her life. So I would say what if worlds. So what if Maya took a certain decision? What if she moved to a different place? Okay, what if she avoided a certain tragedy? So these are like all the thoughts that Maya has. What if on a certain day this is the risk that I took, this is the ambition that I went after, or this is the regret that I have. So based on this, there are like obviously multiple realities, right, or multiple thoughts, and from each of these there is one word that comes. And now Maya has the power to sort of navigate all these words, or what we would call a weaver. What the name actually signifies, the shadow weaver. So if you look at all these as shadows of her thoughts, she is someone who is able to weave through all of these. That is the concept, which is an interesting concept actually. But then that is where the next point comes in. Like, what if I did not do something on a certain day? Um, will that change my life? Will that be make Maya a better person? That is the whole reason for Maya to go on this quest, right? What if she did not make a certain decision, or she made that decision? Either ways, what could have been the after effects of that? What could have resulted from that? Now, the interesting part to look at is um, what would have happened based on that, like if only she did that decision. So now that she say enters the first world, or in each of these alternate worlds, will she realize that if only she did this, or she took this decision, if her life happened this way, would that have meant that resulting in Maya becoming a better person? So that is what this whole story is about. So I don't want to sort of give away much of it. The story, it has a lot of deeper meaning, and of course, though Maya is like the main character, there are a lot of other characters in each of these worlds, and how is she going to traverse these worlds? How is she becoming the shadow weaver, and what will she realize? Because all of us have these regrets, right, or these thoughts that what if we did something else? What if we took a different decision? So yeah, I wouldn't like to give any more story beyond this. This is what the story is about at a high level. You'll have to just read for yourself to see what really happens to Maya and what she realizes at the end of the book, like about after traversing all these different worlds, what is her conclusion? Like, did she think her earlier decision was a good one, or did she think something else? Like, did she enjoy the stepping into an alternate world, stepping into a different reality? So that is what this book is about. So as you can see, it's a wonderful, beautiful cover. That is like one of the reasons why I picked, and also because of the blurb and the genre. you have followed my reviews, you would know I never really read anything around fantasy. Not a person who really enjoys or likes the fantasy genre. Just for the reason that I really can't relate or understand generally in fantasy the sort of worlds that are weaved. But this sort of sounded interesting or a little different from general fantasy books. So that's the reason why I picked this up. But only after reading it did I realize that it's not just fantasy, like in generally when you read fantasy, it's about obviously a different world than the world that we live in, and then there are a lot of battles happening. There are superpowers, and that sort of a narrative that generally happens. This book, it's different in the sense it also has those alternate worlds. But then the whole thought, how it came up, it really impressed me because that is something all of us, or maybe most of us, I can say, keep thinking every day that what if I didn't study there, I didn't take the decision to stay here, or what if I move to a new city, what if I didn't move to that city. So whenever we make some decisions, and if it turns out to be a good one, we are happy. But then if we make a decision and then that decision didn't go as we planned, and life didn't plan the way we expected it to, then what we generally think is like we regret it. We think that okay, we shouldn't have done that. Probably I should have done something else. I should have taken the second path, right? An alternate path. That is what most of us keep, thinking, especially about the regrets, right? I think whatever are the happy decisions, whatever are the decisions which brought us happiness or success or satisfaction, we think less about that. We always think about the decisions or life events which are not as expected, right? So it's a good concept that started from that, which is what I really like. And then what if each of us get the chance to explore an alternate path, like what if I decided to study a certain stream, and then after 10 years I regret, no, this was a wrong decision, what if I did something else. Now what if you are given the option to explore the other stream now, but then only after you explore it, then you may think that maybe that was not really a good option, a better option, or maybe your current life is not really as bad as you think it is. So yeah, that sort of retrospective thoughts, I really liked that, how the author has shown through Maya, especially because this is the author's debut work. So for a debut, the thought process that went into from the author, and how it is not just a fantasy, it's more of a psychological fantasy, where author puts forward all these thoughts through the protagonist life. And also there is this main message that we always think, a lot of people I know, I keep hearing some people saying that this is just my fate, this is what is expected to happen in my life, especially when you're going through something bad or a low phase, right? We tend to think that way. But then through Maya's character, I think that is a good message that the author tried to give, that don't ever look at things like this is fate, this is all predestined, and this is all that is supposed to happen in my life. No, it's more of a choice. Whenever you have to take a decision, you obviously have multiple choices, and you look at it and then make a decision, and probably sometimes it works out the way you expect, sometimes it doesn't. But then always take that responsibility of whatever you decide, right? Especially when something goes wrong, don't think that or don't try to run away from that responsibility. Just take that responsibility, own your choices, and then so this is a choice that I made, and this is what happened. But this is a mistake, probably I learned from that. I think that is always a better strategy in life than just thinking that this is my fate. So that is also something the author subtly tries to give a message throughout the book, but also towards the end through Maya's character, that what if Maya did something like that? Maybe if she chose career over her first love, maybe she would have been a successful leader, but maybe she wouldn't have been happy in her love life, right? So it's always like you do take one decision, you take one path, you get some, you lose some. So yeah, I think that's a very good message in there overall in the book. So this book is a little over 300 pages, and then the author has covered like so much, topics or so much of the story within this, which is good. But I also felt that probably the beginning pages. I mean, I always find it with most of the books that authors take some time to sort of establish all the characters or the backstory, and so those are the pages where I personally tend to lose a bit of interest, or I tend to get bored. So that is a general feedback that I have for most authors. If they can sort of edit a bit of the initial chapters, initial pages, so that the reader will be like pulled into the story much more quickly. That is the only feedback that I have. But otherwise, for a debut, I think the author's thought process and what she wanted to convey. Um, as a message, but also a very strong story. And then all this word building, right? Like with fantasy, that is the most important thing. How the author visualizes this, how the protagonist and the other characters are actually placed in these different worlds, alternate worlds. How they navigate them. That is the most interesting part. So I think author has done a good justice for all the characters and these alternate worlds that she has weaved through it. So if you're reader who is interested in fantasy genre, obviously you should pick this. But even if you're someone like me who is reluctant to read about fantasy, I would definitely suggest read The Shadow Weaver, and I hope you'll also like it and enjoy it as much as I did. Yeah. Thank you. Hope you enjoy it.